Hello, my name is Denniston. I'm a recent graduate of Anderson University with a degree in music education and a focus in conducting. The purpose of this video is to present my knowledge of the InTASC Model Core teaching standards. Throughout this video, I will express my beliefs of each standard and my experience regarding these standards. I have compiled the 10 standards into 4 subtopics: the learner and environment of learning, content, instructional practice, and lastly, our professional responsibility as educators. These subtopics were based and adapted from the 2013 CCSSO InTASC resource packet. Standards 1 through 3 fall under the learner and environment of learning. Educators have a special opportunity to teach in a space filled with diversity. When talking about diversity, this is not just about race, but it's talking about how each student is unique in what their family background may be, and how they learn, and what their culture is. I am an advocate in the statement that not one student is the same. There are only 2 things that are the same: their teacher and the space they come to learn in, even though that may change in some situations. But normally, those are the 2 things that are consistent. It is the responsibility of the teacher to take that space and create a positive and safe environment of learning and growth. The teacher has to reach all of these unique students and bring them to the understanding of the content. The way to achieve this is to understand the students. InTASC Standard 1 is about learner development. The teacher understands how learners grow and develop, recognizing that patterns of learning and development vary individually within and across the cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional, and physical areas, and designs and implements developmentally appropriate and challenging learning experiences. When understanding learner development, we then recognize learning differences, which is expressed in Standard 2. The teacher uses understanding of individual differences and diverse cultures and communities to ensure inclusive learning environments that enable each learner to meet high standards. After understanding the development of learners and their differences, the educator then has to create an environment of learning which is based upon those standards. The teacher works with others to create environments that support individual and collaborative learning and that encourage positive social interaction, active engagement in learning, and self-motivation. These 3 standards build upon each other to create the appropriate learning environment. CCSSO states that teaching begins with the learner. If it were not for the learner, how would the teachers teach? Well, the answer is they wouldn't. In order to properly show my background in this, I'm actually going to use an example of not a classroom that I worked in, but my church. I had a wonderful opportunity to be the director of worship arts at my hometown church in Frankfort, Indiana, called Kelly Crossing Church of God. I was there a little over 1.5 years, from spring of 2017 to fall of 2018. Around Christmas of 2017, I put together a choir with ages ranging from 13 to 65. There were around 25 choir members. Over half of them had never sung in a choir before. A third of them had not sung in an ensemble since high school, and only a small percentage of them were active singers. Due to the varying levels of experience in the group and knowledge of music theory, I had to figure out a way to create effective rehearsals that would engage and reach everyone in the group. So the first thing I did was I took the time to reach out and get to know each choir member. I knew I needed to know their prior musical experience and also what was motivating them to be a part of this. In rehearsals, I was applying different teaching techniques, especially in the first rehearsals, so I could figure out what exactly would work. I also made sure to create a seating arrangement that would aid in the learning of the music that we were working on. I positioned the stronger, experienced singers near the ones that were in need of more guidance. The end product was very positive and turned out to be one of my favorite educational and musical experiences thus far. Standards 4 and 5 fall under content. I just discussed about the learner and learning environment, or the who and where. Now I will discuss what the educator is providing for the learner. Standard 4 is over content knowledge. The teacher understands the central concepts, tools of inquiry, and structures of the discipline he or she teaches and creates, learning experiences that make the discipline accessible and meaningful for learners to assure mastery of the content. In order to effectively teach, the teacher must know the content. I have a degree in music education, therefore it is expected of me to know music. I fully plan on finding musical experiences for myself outside of the classroom so I can continue to master my craft. I am a trombone player. If I just left the trombone in its case after college, I will be doing my students a disservice because I'm not keeping up with the content. Educators are also expected to be able to take the content and present it in a way that will engage the students and essentially help them learn the content. In order to do this, educators must continue to find and develop ways to achieve this. A friend and mentor of mine, Dr. Tim Lausenheiser, said that an effective teacher never stops learning. After finishing my degree in music education, I can confidently say that I do not know everything about music and music education. There's still so much for me to learn. Great ways to do this are being a part of organizations and going to conferences. I am a member of IMEA, NAFME, and ITA, the International Trombone Association. I also have gone to attend IMEA conferences and CSI, the Conn-Selmer Institute. I fully plan on continuing to attend these professional growth events and other opportunities that may come. These things will help to provide me new ideas and help to further my education. Standard 5 is about applying the content. The teacher understands how to connect concepts and use differing perspectives to engage learners in critical thinking, creativity, and collaborative problem solving related to authentic local and global issues. Another mentor of mine, Dr. Joseph Scagnoli, told me that the best way to know that you are doing your job is when a student can take a problem home with them and be able to use what you have given them to solve the problem on their own. As teachers, I believe we should be teaching concepts so that later on when students come in contact with them, they know what to do. As a music teacher, it is my goal, as the students progress, they will be able to see things like a dot above a note and know to play that note short and detached. Or if they see a P below the notes or a phrase, they automatically know that that means piano and end up playing that at a soft dynamic without me having to say a single word. Also, it must be remembered that there is a purpose for these students to be in the classroom. What an educator presents must be useful for their lives. That is why it is the educator's responsibility to connect the content to what is happening in the world. I still remember a peer of mine walking out of a math class in high school saying, "There's no reason for me to be here. I don't need to know any of this. I'm not going to be a mathematician or a math professor. This is pointless for me." Well, the truth is no. He is not, at least not currently, a mathematician, nor is he a math professor. But what I can tell you is he is a U.S. citizen who is supposed to pay taxes, manage money, and pay bills. Teachers must make sure that the content is relatable in order for the students to recognize that what is being presented, the tools and methods, are useful and important. Standards 6 through 8 are on the topic of instructional practice. There's assessment, planning for instruction, and instructional strategies. There should be a clear beginning and end. The large one is first day of school and last day of school. But this should also apply to every concept that is taught. A way to know what the students know at the beginning and what they have learned after instruction has ended is by assessing the students. The teacher understands and uses multiple methods of assessment to engage learners in their own growth, to monitor learner progress, and to guide the teachers and learners' decision making. Giving a pre-test before each unit helps to show what the students know. As the unit progresses on, administering tests throughout the time will help to make sure that the students are understanding the content. Then a test at the end will show that the progress of their understanding of the content and if mastery was achieved. Criteria reference tests are perfect for this. So back to the beginning. Once the teacher knows what the student's prior knowledge of the content is, a plan needs to be made. The teacher plans instruction that supports every student in meeting rigorous learning goals by drawing upon knowledge of content area curriculum, cross-disciplinary skills, and pedagogy, as well as knowledge of learners and the community context. Teachers should have how they will provide the content and what areas will be taught and when. There must be an order to how this is done. So now prior information has been provided, the plans and goals of the content are in place. The last thing to do is to fill in the spaces in between with the actual instruction. The teacher understands and uses a variety of instructional strategies to encourage learners to develop deep understanding of content areas and their connections and to build skills to apply knowledge in meaningful ways. One of the many jobs educators have is to encourage their students, because as I stated before, the content is important and useful. Teachers also have to teach the students how the content can be applied. I have tried to make it clear that there is not just one way to teach. Educators need to always be using different resources to teach and even assess. I fully believe that a multiple choice Scantron is not the only way to assess. Technology has provided many new and effective ways to teach and assess. Something that I fully plan on using if the opportunity presents itself is a program called Smart Music. Smart Music is such a great platform for students to interact with the content. An example is if I were teaching a choir class and needed to quiz the students over a specific excerpt, I could have the class sing and have a couple iPads being passed around. And the student can hold the device in their lap and press record, and it would log that excerpt, and I could hear each student without singling them out. That easily would cover music standard number 1, singing alone and with others. The last two standards, numbers 9 and 10, are on the topic of professional responsibility. The teacher engages in ongoing professional learning and uses evidence to continually evaluate his or her practice, particularly the effects of his or her choices and actions on others, learners, families, other professionals, and the community, and adapts practice to meet the needs of each learner. My personal opinion is that teachers tend to get so caught up in engaging the students, relating with the students, and how they're changing lives. That makes it easy to forget that at the end of the day, this is our job. Those are all great things that I am an advocate for, but it is important to remember that we all have a job to do and we must conduct ourselves in an appropriate manner. Students spend a huge overall chunk of the early part of their lives in the classroom. That makes teachers the adults that they see during this time. It is the responsibility of an educator to be a positive model for the students. I am always amazed at how much students recognize they can see, and in my experience, they point out even the tiniest of things. Professionalism is an absolute must. What I am currently wearing right now is an example of what I would wear in a classroom. I have also always made sure that my language inside or outside the classroom has never reflected anything negative about myself or wherever I am teaching. If we are unable to bring our best to the classroom, how can we expect our students to? Another thing my mentor, Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser, says that if you want an easy job, become a brain surgeon. Because if you make a mistake as a brain surgeon, you affect one life. Make a mistake as a teacher and you affect multiple lives. As harsh as that may sound, it is true. We are entrusted the lives of many children, and it is our job to recognize that our actions do matter. As teachers, we're also supposed to be leaders. The title teacher does not automatically make you a leader. You must take the extra step. The teacher seeks appropriate leadership roles and opportunities to take responsibility for student learning, to collaborate with learners, families, colleagues, other school professionals, and community members to ensure learner growth and to advance the profession. As much as it may seem like we do not have the time to take on more responsibilities, it's important to seek leadership opportunities. In college, I was the vice president and then the president of our CNAFME chapter, our collegiate NAFME chapter. I also got opportunities to be a student conductor for many of our major ensembles at Anderson University. Those experiences helped further my education in unique ways. Just because a teacher is supposed to connect with his or her students, that doesn't mean, and also be relatable with them, that doesn't mean that they can't be professional. That is our profession. I want to put an emphasis on the final portion of standard number 10. One of our main jobs is to advance the profession. Not just our classroom, not just our school, not just our community, but education itself. By fulfilling these 10 standards, we are being highly effective teachers. By being highly effective teachers, we're also being advocates of learning. It is my job to make sure that every student succeeds. These standards make that possible. Thank you.